fears in the eyes of her students.
Children are scared as well, and it's really impacting their performance in school.
As a first-generation Salvadoran American, Alma says she's formed bonds with migrant parents of her students, many from El Salvador. She recalls a recent conversation with a 7-year-old student.
She told me that she was very terrified that she would get deported. Her parents have told me that she is a U.S. citizen, she was born here, but still, it's that widespread fear that if you're Hispanic or if you're Salvadoran, you're going to get deported, right? Because of that racial profiling happening and that affiliation with them as well.
Like his old neighbor, he remains hopeful, also fierce and protective. Which is not the first time I can use him. It's at he survived 4 years past and we can almost some about seeing that. President Trump's tariffs are causing 2020. That's the start of the COVID pandemic lockdown, according to the policy uncertainty index. Those initial lockdowns, although people were saying it was important when it came to saving lives, they also had costs. Public health policies were asked to abide with what the effect would be on the economy, on the mental health, the education of our kids, and so much more. There's a new book called Income State, How Our Politics Failed Us, that examines all that and more. And joining us now are the author, University Professor Francis Lee. It's just like I had a coverage in this, and I was bombarded with teachers. I wanted to kill them. Were you worried at all about writing this book about people like saying, what are you doing? We were, and we worry about it, especially with attacks on university, attacks on science, and so on. But we think that premise of those attacks is that universities are politicize science and politicize. We're not willing to ask hard questions. Then we try to support that premise. I think by asking hard questions, they're willing to address hard questions and admit past mistakes. They'll have to defy that. Yeah, there needs to be a reckoning. Well, let's talk about the education thing, because it seems like it's still real, right? I mean, these NAEP scores didn't go down. But how much of the struggles we're seeing are because of really basic learning. I skepticism of how much it did.
Look at that. Basically, does it. I think people would like to see young people and parents to experience of people and so people have it changed anyway, including young people. And so it's hard to compare. Last year, we have to attend school less.
One of the ways I look at young people today, and I do not mean this in an unsympathetic way, in an entirely sympathetic, is I almost feel like they're emotionally about two things that happened where people 20 years ago would have been like, I think that might really emotionally be about it. Like 16-year-old, is that fair? Yeah, I mean, we tell me that. Our students are very important. Yeah, I think our students have done a good job of it. But as Francis said, there's plenty of evidence of higher rates of depression, absenteeism. And another very sad thing here is that this was all predicted in pre-COVID pandemic planning documents. There were vivid warnings of the cost of these measures that we implemented, including school closures. And those measures, those pre-COVID pandemic plans, said that they were extremely unlikely to be effective at curtailing the amount of mortality from COVID, the amount of morbidity from COVID. We didn't pay attention to those, which is a real shame. Francis, one of the moments I had personally a real crisis of faith in our health institutions and medical institutions after the George Floyd protests, and look, the murder of George Floyd was a horrible moment, and I'm glad that there was awareness of brutality and all the rest and racial inequities, but all of a sudden, even though kids weren't allowed to go to school, playgrounds were locked up, people weren't allowed to go to beaches, et cetera, all of a sudden medical organizations were saying it was okay to gather in large groups in tight spaces to protest racial injustice. And just as a medical justification, it didn't make any sense to me.
That was a time when many people began to question the mandates and to wonder why one could go to the liquor store or go to a casino and not go to church. The rationality of a lot of the restrictions began to be questioned. You began to see that's in the summer of 2020. That's when the pandemic begins to polarize along partisan lines. It was not party polarized initially. Initially, there was broad adherence to the early recommendations for closures.
Yeah.
So starting in mid-March. It's over the summer when you begin to see the states go their different ways. The red states go in one way, blue states go in another. And so then that partisanship begins to structure the response to the pandemic after and public opinion around the pandemic. And so the kinds of questions that were getting raised around the Floyd protests, that's just one set of questions.
Yeah.
And many others that tend to break along partisan lines.
I could spend 5 hours talking about this with you guys, but instead I'm going to read your book. It's called COVID's Wait, How Our Politics Failed Us, Professor Stephen Lucido. Thanks to both of you, and thanks for writing this book. Really important book. The country needs a reckoning on a lot of these
This is gameplay from Devil May Cry HD Collection. The action-focused franchise dates back to the original game released in 2001. For mobile devices, but the world of the series' latest iteration is 2024's Devil May Cry Combat for mobile devices. But the world of Dante is moving from game screens to streaming screens.
What do you do exactly? After I worked together on a movie,
Devil May Cry animated
a long time ago, he was an actor in the film, and
Matt and I worked together on a movie. We talked about 2014, a long time ago. And he was an actor in the film, and we hit it off really, really well. And he was talking about Devil May Cry back then.
instructions.
So I checked it out back then only because of that. But I definitely, I bought all the games when I found out that I got the part, and I've been playing. Am I good? No, but I am trying.
Devil May Cry,
like a huge rock opera set in a leveling up in Hollywood. I'm Rick Yamachama.
Getting there, this is for you. Everyone designing your dream home just became a reality. Let Havenly make it happen.
Did you know that one large tree makes a supply of oxygen for 4 people? Trees make us happy. Did you know trees are caring